The ultimate corporate nightmare has arrived for tennis executives. World number one Aryna Sabalenka looked directly at the television cameras during a packed press conference and uttered the exact words that could completely cancel an upcoming Grand Slam tournament. Executives in suit and tie roles running Roland Garros find themselves plunged into total meltdown mode. Management assumed they could exploit the hardest-working athletes in the world forever without facing any real consequences. But everything changed on Tuesday, May 5th, 2026, during the Italian Open when their entire system of control completely unraveled. Sabalenka refused to mince words when she dropped a massive truth bomb that sent shockwaves straight to the corporate boardrooms in Paris. Outspoken and fearless, the top-ranked star explicitly announced that players are ready to execute a total tournament boycott unless they receive a fair share of the revenue. This is no minor complaint or simple disagreement behind closed doors. And this is where it gets worse for the executives, because an open mutiny has officially targeted a corrupt corporate structure that has spent decades shortchanging its biggest stars. The reality is that the directors running these multi-million-dollar events are terrified because they know they possess zero power without the players on the court. For years, these corporate bosses operated with complete impunity while assuming the athletes would just stay quiet and accept whatever crumbs were thrown at them. Public embarrassment of the highest order is what they face right now, proving that their calculated lies are no longer functioning. Sabalenka exposed the truth to the entire world, and that's when the corporate narrative completely fell apart. The tension in the media room was thick enough to cut with a knife when the words left her mouth. Reporters scrambled to document the historic moment, and that's when the greedy executives running the sport tried to downplay the situation immediately. They wanted the public to think this was just an emotional reaction from a single player. But the verified documents prove that this is a highly coordinated, deeply calculated stand by the locker room. The top players in the world have reached their absolute breaking point with the systemic exploitation. The corporate villain in this story is a greedy, corporate tennis machine that refuses to treat athletes as equal partners. They have built an entire empire on the physical suffering and dedication of these players, yet they treat them like replaceable cogs in a machine. They hide behind traditions and historical prestige to justify keeping the vast majority of the wealth for themselves. But tradition does not pay for a player's coaching staff, travel, or medical bills. Sabalenka's public declaration has stripped away their corporate mask, revealing the pure greed underneath. Every single excuse the tournament directors have tried to put forward is completely unraveling. They claim that putting on a Grand Slam is too expensive and that they are reinvesting in the sport. The real numbers show a completely different story of corporate greed and player exploitation. The executives are panicking because they realize they can no longer control the information. The players are finally speaking directly to the world, and they are refusing to be bullied into submission anymore. The public embarrassment for Roland Garros is growing larger by the second. They are staring down a massive financial catastrophe just weeks before their flagship event is set to begin. If the top players refuse to step onto the historic red clay on May 24th, 2026, the entire tournament becomes completely worthless. Television networks will pull their contracts, sponsors will demand their money back, and stadium seats will sit completely empty. The corporate executives thought they held all the cards, but they are quickly realizing they have absolutely nothing without the players. This historic showdown did not happen overnight. It is the direct result of years of procedural failures and calculated lies from tennis leadership. The players have watched the sport grow into a global financial juggernaut, while their own financial security has been constantly squeezed. They are tired of watching executives in expensive suits take credit for the record-breaking crowds and massive television ratings. Sabalenka's bold statement was the spark that finally set the entire corporate structure on fire. The corporate executives are currently scrambling behind the scenes to try and silence the locker room. They are desperately trying to offer minor concessions to make this massive public relations nightmare go away. But the players are completely standing their ground this time. They are demanding a fundamental shift in how the wealth of the sport is distributed. Sabalenka has made it completely clear that the time for empty promises and corporate stall tactics is officially over. Actual documents and financial sheets expose the true scale of this corporate scam. Financial records prove that Roland Garros generated a staggering €395 million in gross revenue during the 2025 tournament alone. That unbelievable mountain of cash flowed directly into the pockets of the tournament organization, yet the player compensation structure actually went backward. The percentage of revenue handed over to the athletes declined from 15.5% in 2024 down to a projected 14.9% in 2026. This means that as the tournament makes more money, the athletes who destroy their bodies on the court receive a smaller piece of the pie. To make matters even worse, the gross prize money for this year rose by a pathetic 5.4% year-over-year. When you compare that tiny increase to the massive profit margins the tournament is raking in, the corporate greed becomes impossible to deny. The players are explicitly demanding a 22% share of the revenue, which perfectly aligns with the standard structure already used at ATP and WTA, combined 1,000 events. The corporate executives have spent years trying to convince the public that they are generous helpers who care about the players. They brag about giving the 2026 singles champions 2.8 million euros and the runners-up 1.4 million euros. They point to the 87,000 euros given to first-round losers as proof that they care about the lower-ranked players. But these numbers are a complete smokescreen designed to hide the hundreds of millions of euros that the executives are keeping for themselves. The reality is that the players are generating 100% of the value, yet they are being forced to beg for a fair share. The greed of the tennis establishment has finally been laid bare for everyone to see. The tournament directors want the public to believe that millions of euros are plenty of money for a tennis player. They want to paint the athletes as ungrateful and greedy to turn the fans against them. But the players are refusing to let the corporate media control the narrative this time. They are pointing directly to the financial sheets and showing the world exactly where the money is going. The suit and tie executives are the ones hoarding the cash, while the athletes are left to fight for the scraps. The systemic corruption goes far deeper than just a single tournament's profit margins. The entire financial architecture of the Grand Slams is set up to protect the wealth of the organization at the expense of the workers. The executives claim that they have high overhead costs and that they need to save money for future infrastructure projects. But the documents show that their executive salaries and corporate bonuses continue to skyrocket year after year. The players have realized that if they do not draw a hard line in the sand right now, the corporate exploitation will only get worse. The financial disparity between what the tournament makes and what the players receive is completely unsustainable. Roland Garros is a global brand built entirely on the backs of legendary athletes who sacrifice everything for the sport. Yet, the people who actually run the event treat the players like independent contractors who should be grateful just to be invited. This backwards mentality is exactly why the locker room has finally united to demand what they are rightfully owed. The corporate directors can no longer hide behind their complex accounting tricks because the players have seen the real numbers. The corporate narrative that the tournaments are struggling financially is a complete and total fabrication. The tennis industry is experiencing an unprecedented boom with record attendance and massive media rights deals around the world. Roland Garros is making more money today than at any other point in its long history. Yet, their response to this massive financial success is to cut the players' revenue percentage even further. This insulting move has completely backfired on the executives, turning a quiet frustration in the locker room into a full-scale corporate war. The locker room has officially mobilized a massive counterattack against this greedy corporate system. A joint player statement has been signed by an incredible alliance of the sport's biggest superstars. This is not just a women's tour issue anymore. The list of signatories includes top 10 global icons from both sides of the sport, including Aryna Sabalenka, Jannik Sinner, Carlos Alcaraz, Iga Swiatek, and Coco Gauff, seeing the absolute top stars of the men's and women's games united on a single labor issue has left the corporate executives completely paralyzed with fear. The strategic brilliance of the players' strategy is being led by defending champion Coco Gauff. She is openly weaponizing the modern playbook of athlete empowerment to fight back against the tennis establishment. Gauff explicitly cited the historic WNBA collective bargaining agreement battle as the direct inspiration for this tennis Revolution. She told the media that she could 100% see a full player walkout happening if the locker room moves together as one unified force. By drawing a direct parallel to the WNBA's fierce labor fight, Gauff has completely changed the entire conversation around tennis economics. The corporate system is finding out the hard way that they cannot intimidate this new generation of athletes. Gauff and Sabalenka understand their immense cultural and financial power. They know that the fans buy tickets to see them play, not to see the tournament directors sit in luxury suites. The old corporate playbook of dividing the players and conquering them through fear is completely failing. The players are looking at the massive financial success of other professional sports leagues and demanding that tennis finally enter the modern era of fair revenue sharing. The executives are completely terrified of the WNBA comparison because they know how successful that movement has been. Women's basketball players stood up to their league management, demanded better working conditions, and completely transformed their sports financial landscape. Gauff is bringing that exact same energy to the tennis world, and the corporate directors have no idea how to handle it. They're used to dealing with traditional athletes who are afraid to rock the boat. But Gauff is a modern leader who understands that real change only happens when you stand up and fight the system. The unity between the men's and women's players is the absolute worst-case scenario for the tennis establishment. For decades, the corporate directors have successfully kept the ATP and WTA tours divided, using that separation to keep player compensation low across the board. They thought they could always play the two sides against each other to prevent any real labor movement from forming. But the joint statement signed by Alcaraz, Sinner, Sabalenka, and Gauff has completely shattered that old corporate strategy. The top stars are moving as one, and the executives are completely powerless to stop them. The corporate media is desperately trying to downplay Gauff's leadership and paint her comments as unrealistic. They want the public to believe that a strike is impossible and that the players will ultimately back down when the tournament starts. But Gauff's clear and direct warning has completely changed the math for Roland Garros. She has made it obvious that the players are no longer afraid of the tournament's threats or legal penalties. They are willing to sacrifice their own immediate prize money to secure a fair financial future for the entire sport. Other tournaments have already proven that treating players fairly is entirely possible. The Australian Open pushed forward with a significant 16% compensation increase for its players. The US Open stepped up last year with a massive 20% increase to ensure the athletes were properly rewarded. These actions completely demolish the corrupt narrative put forward by Roland Garros executives who claim they cannot afford to pay the players their fair 22% share. The data proves that Roland Garros is simply choosing to hoard the wealth instead of distributing it fairly. The complete refusal of the French Open leadership to match these industry standards shows their utter contempt for the athletes. While other major tournaments are actively working to build a sustainable partnership with the players, Roland Garros is doubling down on their outdated and exploitative business model. They want to keep as much of that €395 million as humanly possible, even if it means destroying their relationship with the locker room. This arrogant stance has completely alienated the players and pushed the entire sport to the brink of a historic collapse. The corporate directors are panicking behind closed doors because they know their arguments are completely hollow. They cannot explain why the Australian Open and the US Open can afford massive double-digit increases while Roland Garros can only manage a pathetic 5.4%. The truth is that there is no logical explanation other than pure corporate greed. The executives are being exposed as incompetent managers who are entirely out of touch with the modern sports world. Their desperate attempts to defend their broken system are only making them look more foolish to the global audience. The industry is rapidly distancing itself from the toxic management at Roland Garros as the threat of a boycott grows. Internal memos reveal that major sponsors are furious with the tournament directors for allowing the situation to escalate this far. These multi-million-dollar brands do not want to be associated with an event that exploits its workers and faces a total player walkout. The corporate executives thought they were protecting their profit margins, but their absolute greed is now threatening to destroy their entire network of commercial partnerships. The institutional collapse of the tournament is becoming a very real possibility with every day that passes without a resolution. The entire tennis world is watching this showdown, and the pressure on Roland Garros is reaching an all-time high. The players have completely flipped the script on the executives, turning the upcoming tournament into a massive referendum on corporate greed. If the directors do not give in to the players' demands, they will be left running an empty stadium while their prestige evaporates on the global stage. The corporate executives are desperately searching for any crack in the players' unified front to exploit. They found a small glimmer of hope when world number one Iga Swiatek expressed a slightly more cautious view to the media. Swiatek told outlets that a complete tournament boycott remains a bit of an extreme option in her mind. The greedy directors immediately tried to spin this statement to show that the players are divided and disorganized. They want the public to believe that the movement is falling apart from the inside. But this corporate spin is a complete and total lie. The reality is that Swiatek still signed the core joint statement, demanding the 22% revenue share. Her hesitation on the immediate boycott tactic does not mean she supports the greedy corporate structure. It simply shows that the players are having a serious, mature debate about the best way to execute their leverage. Meanwhile, rising superstar Jasmine Paolini completely reinforced the boycott threat by confirming that a full walkout is absolutely on the table if the players agree to move together. The executives' attempt to weaponize Swiatek's words shows just how desperate they have truly become. They are clutching at straws, trying to create drama where none exists to distract from their own financial fraud. But the locker room is remaining incredibly smart and focused on the ultimate goal. Players know that the corporate directors are trying to play divide and conquer games, and they are completely refusing to fall for it. The alliance between the top stars remains rock solid, and no amount of corporate public relations spin can change that fact. The internal discussions within the player group actually show a level of sophistication that has completely blindsided the executives. The athletes are not acting on blind emotion. They are carefully calculating their moves to maximize their impact. Swiatek's measured comments simply reflect a strategic discussion about timing and leverage, not a betrayal of the cause. The tournament directors are completely failing to realize that a diversity of tactics within a unified movement makes the players even more dangerous to the establishment. The public is completely seeing through the tournament's desperate media narrative as well. Tennis fans around the world are rallying behind the players, flooding social media with messages of solidarity and calling out the corporate greed of Roland Garros. The executives thought they could use the media to pressure the players into backing down, but the exact opposite is happening. Every single attempt to distort Swiatek's words or paint the locker room as divided is only bringing more negative attention to the tournament's corrupt financial practices. The corporate executives are completely running out of time to fix this massive disaster. The countdown to May 24th, 2026 is ticking away rapidly, and the pressure on the tournament directors is becoming completely unbearable. The entire sports industry is starting to distance itself from the toxic and greedy management style of the Roland Garros leadership. Sponsors are privately expressing immense worry that their brands will be dragged through the mud if a historic strike cancels the entire event. The corporate villains thought they could dictate all the terms, but they have backed themselves into a dangerous corner. The structural failure of the current tennis leadership has never been more obvious to the world. The players have been forced to take these extreme measures because the official governing bodies have completely failed to protect them. Executives have spent years prioritizing corporate expansion and luxury, stadium upgrades while ignoring the basic financial health of the athletes. This historic labor dispute is the ultimate proof that the old way of running professional tennis is officially dead. The players are taking control of their own destinies, and they are not looking back. This is officially the most significant and explosive tennis labor moment since the dawn of the Open era. The corporate executives are realizing that they are completely powerless against a unified locker room. If they refuse to blink before May 24th, they will be solely responsible for the complete destruction of their own tournament. The players have shown incredible bravery by standing up to this multi-million-dollar corporate machine. They have exposed the greed, shattered the corporate narrative, and proven that the real power belongs to the athletes. Roland Garros executives thought they'd destroy the players, but they only destroyed themselves.